Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kira Young. I am United States of America's Miss 2022. So I am from Milwaukee. I'm born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And back in November, I represented Milwaukee in the United States of America's Wisconsin pageant. And last month, I went on to represent Wisconsin in the United States of America's national pageant. So, actually, fun fact, I did pageantry about 12 years ago. And I said I would never do it again. But that's because I really didn't understand pageantry. And it was because of my mom, who really encouraged me to give pageantry a shot again, that I even reconsidered pageantry. And my why is why I really gave it my all. So my platform is confidence in teen girls and women, and I do that through Beauty and Beyond. I have an etiquette and confidence-based program called Powder Room Finishing School, where I teach on etiquette and confidence, as well as fashion, modeling, makeup, and pageantry, and more. So that's a bit about me and what I do. I definitely encourage girls, especially young minority girls, to get into pageantry because it's a great way to build your confidence, it's a great way to network, and even there's a lot of scholarship opportunities for young girls. So that's a bit about me. Thank you for your time.
I don't know.
Okay, so I am going to call up Alderwoman Dmitrievich, and as I have the mic, we can get the mic adjusted, but you ladies look really good. Give yourselves a hand, you look beautiful. All right.
I took the long route. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alderwoman Lewis. Thank you. So who's having a good time? All right. I'm Alderwoman Marina Dmitrievich. I saw some of you just a little while ago after our Common Council meeting. I did forget to mention that, serving as Alderwoman, like I said, has been the greatest honor of my life. I was actually sitting in a chair similar to this many, many years ago. I was an intern in the Public Relations Department and actually gave tours of City Hall to people who came. So if you want to know a little bit about the structure, it's a fascinating building. But my point is I sat, not in these chairs, but those chairs, and said, one day I'm going to be in a chair like this. And so if you see it and believe it, it really can happen if that's what you choose. With that, when we're talking about if you see it, if you believe it, it can happen, I get the amazing honor today to introduce the Honorable Congresswoman Gwen Moore. And as she walks up, we've talked a lot about history. Every step this Congresswoman takes, not only does it make history, it makes her story. She came from the state Senate. She's a mother. And I just saw that clip that went viral the other day when she told someone that wanted to talk when she was talking, "Sit down, I have the floor." She told during the debate, that was of the Crown Act, if I'm not mistaken. Honorable Congresswoman Gwen Moore has been a true trailblazer. How many have heard of our Congresswoman before today? You can visit her in DC. She loves to receive visitors, talk about tours. But here's the thing she'll tell you about. She's never, ever lost touch, even though she has to travel all the time to Washington, D.C., with her neighborhood and the city of Milwaukee. I know for her it's also another homecoming to be here in the City Hall of Milwaukee as well and address you all today. Gwen Moore is a fighter. She is known throughout the halls of Congress, but like we said, more importantly, in the streets of Milwaukee. And so again, it's with my great honor to introduce Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
Let me just thank Alderwoman Dmitrievich, and I actually do know how to spell her name. I'm really proud of that, for that generous introduction. And just let me thank Malele Cox for her stewardship over Girls' Day. This is, how many years is this? 12. 12 years, my God. I don't think Malele was 12 years old when I met her. And that's a part of the story of continuity. That's why we're here. I met Malele Cox when she was younger than 12 because of her mother, Velma Cox, was an activist in the community, someone who really believed in the power of women having a voice in the community. And she was not elected to anything. But when Velma spoke, people listened. And one of the most important people who listened to her was Malele. And I say that even though she's laughing, because I want to inspire you all, first of all, to think about the reason that you're here today. I mean, there are thousands of girls throughout the city of Milwaukee who first come, first serve, and however you got here, a teacher that told you about the program, your mom that had you follow up, your mom or your uncle, your brother who dropped you off, your cousin who's coming to pick you back up. These are people who have set you on a path of leadership. Somebody recognized the importance of supporting your instinct toward leadership. And the fact that you chose to be here today rather than somewhere else, lets me know that I'm talking to the right group of people. Because I'll tell you, if you get to be 12, 13, 14 years old, and you don't care about your community at that point, that may be a good sign that you're never going to be that concerned about anything beyond your own needs. And the fact that you're here demonstrates that you're that person. When I was very, very young, I did all kind of crazy things. I had a speech, but I left it back there. But I started out doing what's called the junior journal. I don't need that, Maria, come on. Writing down things that happened in the neighborhood, who broke their arm, who got on the honor list in my neighborhood, the junior journal. And I'd have to pass it around and take it back because I only had one copy of the junior journal. People had to read it and let me move it on. We didn't have a typewriter or anything, but caring about what happened in the neighborhood. I was elected to be president of the student council at North Division High School, vice president of the Wisconsin Association of Student Council, because I cared about the conditions under which the students in our community were operating. We had no black books other than the story of our unfortunate enslavement in schools. And so we rallied around having good historical information provided. We started a citywide organization called BOY, Black Organized Youth, and we all walked out on the same day to have Black history taught to us. And I didn't know that I was going to be a congresswoman. I had no aspiration to be a congresswoman while these things were happening. All I had was a sincere interest to be engaged and involved. And honestly, so many things happened when I was young. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed. Robert Kennedy was shot and killed. The president, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on. We had Vietnam War. On the day I turned 18, 453 young men were killed in Vietnam that day that I turned 18. And y'all are living through the same kinds of phenomena right now. Right now. But guess what, y'all? Y'all are prepared. Y'all have lived through a 100-year pandemic and succeeded and continue to grow and be interested. You all have the answers and the aspiration and the mindset to do something about climate change. You all are here not by accident. And you've got everything in here you need to work with. How many drug addicts we got in here, y'all? Raise your hands, don't be ashamed. How many alcoholics? Raise your hand, don't be ashamed. You all are physically capable, mentally capable. You're blessed among people. To much whom is given, much is demanded. And you have everything. And you have more important than that. You got mentors. Whoever helped you get here today, and Malele Cogs, I promise you, these people are interested in what happens to you. And I know from my own experience. Because all of the while that I was doing what I was doing, I was poor. I was on welfare, eating government cheese, one of 9 kids, run over shoes, clothes that didn't fit, clothes from one of them bags people give away. And not fashionable clothes, y'all, just whatever they, give away. But I had a lot going for me. I had a mother who cared about me. I had some grounding in values. Sometimes that comes from the church. Sometimes that comes from the mosque. Sometimes that comes from the synagogue. Sometimes that comes from meditating, yoga, but some kind of grounding in something other than yourself. And always, always, always paying attention to doing my work at school and avoiding negative influences. Y'all, really, ain't no better high than achieving. There ain't nothing that gets you as high as when you're Ketanji Brown Jackson and they ask you a question, you can answer it. When you've achieved all those things in life, ain't no better high than that. There ain't no alcohol, no drug that can get you as high as that. And to the extent that we still, in this country, have so few women who are leaders, we need every single one of you to do your job and to be that person that we need to lift up other people. And I'm telling you, it's important to gather women and girls in a group because I'm telling you, y'all, we the heads of our families. We are. We're the ones that make sure people get nutritious food. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. We're the ones that we're the kids' first teachers. We're the ones that clean the refrigerator out, unfortunately. I've tried for years to teach guys how to do it. It don't work. Get rid of all the stuff that's gonna make you sick. We're the people that first notice that you're sick and get you to the doctor. We're those people. And in terms of this experience with public service, you're in the right place at the right time. You might not all become older women, but I'll tell you, this is the place where I learned, and this is the first time I've been in this room, for real, y'all. And I see you standing up, Malele, so I'm gonna hurry up. But the very first woman of any color to be here, Val Phillips, is someone who mentored me. And I mean, I had to, I'm not an older woman, so apparently, but she is the one that let me know that I had a voice that had to be heard. She and Marcia Cogs is someone, when I got elected to the state legislature and got elected and had no money, no way to get there, she gave me a ride back and forth to Madison. Polly Williams, state legislator. These are all late people. And I said, I once said, they were so good to me between Marcia and Polly. They kept me fed. I had no money. I had 3 kids, no money for lunch. Polly said, I guess we did too good a job feeding her because I got kind of gained a little weight. But I mean, the reason that we do this is because we got to pass the baton on. This is a race, and I got the fire in my belly, and I feel like I'm doing a good job at a right time, but I know from my own lived experience that the same issues, the same things, battles that I thought I had won in the 60s and 70s, the right to vote, that those things are still lingering. And we all looking for who to pass that baton on. And that's why it's important for y'all to be here, because we are on the hunt. We're on the hunt for those people who are willing to stand up and be the ones that will stand in the gap and make sure that we have a democracy that is equitable. Because you can't have a democracy if women ain't at the table. If women ain't at the table. And you know what they say? If you ain't at the table, you on the menu. That's for real, for real. And so I love you. I support you. I want each and every one of you to reach out to me, stay in touch. And we've got Alderwoman Zamarripa here, Dimitri Evich, Alderwoman Harris Dodd. Who am I missing? You know I can't see. Well, Lele, of course, Cobbs. Gentile Lewis, yes. These are people, these are your resources. And I just thank you for inviting me, y'all. And I'm getting off. You know, I'm a politician. They only give me 1 minute to talk when I'm in Congress. So when I get a mic and ain't no gavel, I just get carried away. David, can we get a picture with the Congresswoman? Somebody got a question, and I'm right now. Right? Okay. I could just feel it. It's a burning question, huh? About education? How you feel about education right now? Always worked out right. Y'all, this is one of my babies. Y'all know all of these are my babies. I'm old enough to have lots of kids. But she was an intern for me. And now look at her.
I learned from the best. Let's give a round of applause for Congresswoman Gwen. So we're about to begin our Representation Matters panel, but I wanted to just take a few seconds to introduce our moderator for today's panel. This is something new. Not only you women, you young ladies seeing a council meeting as a part of Girls' Day, but another something new that we decided to do this year was to have a young lady moderate the political panel. Normally we get folks like Ms. Lakita and other women who are public servants in the community to moderate, but this time we thought it wise to give a young person a chance. And the young person that we selected is Victoria, and I'll allow her to introduce herself. But part of the reason that we selected Victoria is because she has been a regular attendee to Girls' Day for countless years. I remember, I think the first time you came, I think it was the second year, her being on the cover of the Journal Sentinel, because she was asking so many wonderful questions of the panel. And I personally remember, I'll share my other stories for later, but I'll give Victoria a chance to introduce herself and to begin the panel. Go ahead, Victoria.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm Victoria Tatum, and I'm a senior at Brookfield Academy. And I've been coming to Girls' Day since I was third grade. And I've always had a fun time. It's been one of the best experiences I've had. Right now, I am majoring in science, college, and also minoring in Spanish, going to public office, getting a law degree probably. Okay, so to start off this panel, we have an amazing selection of alderwomen here in Milwaukee. And so if each of you guys want to start off by introducing yourself, a little background.
Thank you so much. I'm Alderwoman Jocasta Samaripa, and I represent the 8th Aldermanic District, which is on Milwaukee's near south side, from about South 20th Street on the east side to the city limits, so think Miller Parkway or Brewers Boulevard now. And then I'm in the Menominee Valley, so think Potawatomi Casino is my northern border, and I go south to Cleveland, which is Forest Home Cemetery area. But I'm honored to be here today. Marina said it already to you guys, but again, I'm the first Latina woman elected to the Milwaukee Common Council. It's an honor to represent my community, and I've been a longtime supporter of Girls' Day, and I'm so grateful to be here with you all today. Thank you for being here with us.
And again, good morning, girls and ladies. I am Alderwoman Nakia Dodd. I represent the 5th Aldermanic District, and I am just really blessed and honored to serve with other women on the council, and particularly with Alderwoman Malele Cox, who started this wonderful day of honoring you as girls to come and learn about how you can leverage your career as you look at public service. And I look forward to answering any other questions you have on today, so thank you.
Good afternoon. We got to try that again. We still at Girls' Day now. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right. I am Alderwoman Milele A. Cox. I have both the privilege and the honor of representing the 6th Aldermanic District. I go no further east than Dousman, no further west than 26th Street, no further south than Juneau, and no further north than Hampton, but it zigzags all in between. So if you live in that area, I may represent you. All right.
Good afternoon, ladies. I'm gonna leave y'all alone for a second because I was gonna make you stand up again so we can get some energy going. We always have to have a little bit of a break. Doesn't feel like this mic is on, but anyway, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So I am Alderwoman Shantia Lewis, and I am honored to represent the 9th District, which we now call the New 9th. Probably are a little too young to know Northridge Mall. Thank you. So if you know Northridge Mall, or if you heard of it, because I'm going to tell you right now, that was your parents' spot, okay? That was all of our hangouts. That's where we went to kick it. So that is the area that I represent, arguably the largest district in the entire city of Milwaukee. It is huge. So I am going to just drop this. I'm really looking forward to this panel, but I'm sitting here as not just a mother and an alder, but I'm sitting here as the only veteran on this council and the only female veteran in the city's history. So I want you to think about your path as we are going along through this conversation in this day. Think about what your journey is going to look like, what your wildest dreams are, so that you can see yourself manifesting those things. Because some of the stuff, from being in the military and a bunch of other things, I never saw myself doing. I never saw myself sitting here in this seat, even though people told me that I couldn't. So I want you to understand that when you snag your wildest dream, that thing that you never tell anyone, I want you to hold on to it, because that's something that you can obtain. And I am proof that that is true. So I'll hand it off to my next colleague.
All right. To round it out, Marina Dmitrievich, Alderwoman. I was elected ago, so 2001, the Common Council. But before that, I served many, many years on the Milwaukee County Board. Actually, it was 16 years. When I say that, people look twice and be like, how old is this lady? Well, like you see, there's a lot of firsts up here. And like Alderwoman Lewis said, think about what you're going to be the first of. First in your family, first in your neighborhood, first in your school, first of any kind and type of geography, religion, age, name it, gender. I was actually the youngest woman ever elected to the Milwaukee County Board. The one thing you're learning about today, which you probably already knew, is there's so many different levels of government: city, county, school board, federal. I was elected at 22 years old. So that means I just got out of college at Marquette University after proudly attending all Milwaukee public schools. I got married in office. I had babies in office, elected office. So you can do all those things or none of those things in your plans while you're elected. So we've all had unique challenges and been able to make our own history, and I just want you to think as well about what will be that path, what will be the thing that you're known for, no matter what it is that you choose to do. And I represent the South Side and Bayview community, which is actually where I grew up, and like I said, full circle, it's pretty much an honor to represent your own neighborhood. Anyone here go to Bayview High School, by the way? House? No house?
You house?
Okay. All right, just had to check. You know, our acting mayor right now went to Bayview High School, our county executive. So we'll work on it, but you always got to represent.
And us too.
Okay, yep, that's right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Round of applause, really? Okay. So my first question is, a person's character is made up from their actions. There are people who face challenges and they give up. What is the challenge that you faced, and how did you grow and develop as a leader?
That's good. Anybody?
Anybody? Open to anyone.
You want to take it or you want me to take it? Okay. So that's where I was going. So a challenge, and I think this will be very relevant. A challenge that I faced, one was the perception that I held myself. I've never seen someone in office that looked like me personally. I didn't have anyone in my family that looked like me. So I did not have these aspirations. I wanted to be, if I'm honest, if you have a conversation with me for 2 minutes, you'll know that I'm telling the truth. I wanted to be an actress. So growing up, going to Bayview High School in the 90s, I wanted to be an actress. I never, ever, ever thought about myself being in public service. And so I had to get over the perception that I had, whether or not I was good enough to do that. I didn't come from money, so I said automatically that disqualifies me, because public service is a white man's thing that we all thought was that was the standard. You had to be a wealthy white male to be in public service. And so when the thought came that I was going to enter into politics solely to represent my neighborhood, because I did not like the changes that were happening in my district. So I say former Northridge Mall because it closed. And with that closing, a whole economic economic devastation happened in that area. A lot of the stuff was taken away. Imagine not being able to go to TGI Friday, well, maybe that's probably too old. Imagine not being able to go to a Walgreens right now when they're supposed to be on every corner. That closed, the mall closed, the restaurants closed, all of the stuff closed. And so I was saying someone needs to do something about this. But because I didn't look like what they thought I should look like, because I wasn't the selection, because I didn't have experience in policy and politics, and because I wasn't a part of the boys or girls club, not boys and girls club, but the good old boys club, that I wasn't the selection. So I had to get over people telling me I wasn't good enough, that I needed to earn my stripes a little bit more. But when I knew that I had a voice and I had passion, and I had something inside of me that was just giving me that chutzpah to be able to do what I was about to be set on the path to do. So I had to, one, get over my own self and get out of my own way. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You have to get out of your own way, because guess what? Touch your heart. You got greatness inside of you. You are amazing in your own right. So don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do something that you know in your heart of hearts that you can do. Even if you don't have the experience to do it, you can go and get it, or figure it out, or get you a mentor. So that's what I had to do. I had to get out of my own way, and then I had to look those people in the eye and tell them, I don't care what you said, I'm gonna do this anyway. Whether I win or lose, I'm gonna do this anyway. So you have to know that whether or not your circle or your outside influences are telling you what you can and cannot do, as long as you have one or two people around you that are encouraging you and pushing you and constantly telling you that you're good enough to do this, you keep running whatever race it is that you see yourself on, whatever path you see yourself on, because you can reach that goal at the end of the day.
Are we all answering this question? Or is,
Gianna.
Well, I'll say this. Recently, I had to grapple with the fact that I have a condition as a woman, and one of those conditions, I have many conditions, but one of them happens to be, I was recently diagnosed with ADD. How many of y'all are familiar with ADHD? Raise your hand. ADHD. And so as an adult, I knew that I struggled a lot with memory. I struggled a lot with organization. I struggled a lot with just trying to be confident. And so I want to encourage, so basically it's one of my struggles, right? So if you want to say what do I have overcome, I wouldn't say I've overcome being ADD, because I do have to take care of that. And there are ways you do that. But I have owned it. I own my forgetfulness. You know, I've owned the fact that I may stumble over my words and say something different from time to time, that people may say, oh, she's been in this a long time, so why is she making these errors? Well, I've become comfortable making errors because I realize that it's just a part of who I am and it's a part of my character, right? And so I don't make excuses for it anymore. I just know myself. And so as we progress into, you know, honing our skills and becoming, you know, a woman of whatever you choose to do, whether that's public service or whatever it is, don't let your ailments be the reason you say you cannot do something.
That's good.
I've held 3 political seats. I was a county supervisor from 2010 until 2012. I got elected at 2012. Until 2017, I held a position as a Wisconsin state senator. And then in 2018, I ran for common council and I won. And you know, and I can say that my ailment did not stop me, right? And I know what I'm good at. I'm really good at talking to people at the doors. I get nervous talking to big groups, just like many of you do. I mean, I shake like most of you do. I forget my thoughts. You know, I should write things down, but again, I know sometimes I'm not always that organized to do that. So I just kind of go with the flow, and I be comfortable with that, because I know I don't think I'll say something too crazy, you know what I mean, or too out of order, right? But just know that, you know, we are going to have challenges, whether they're physical physical, whether they are emotional, whatever that is, you can overcome that to become whatever you want to be. So don't let those our physical and mental and emotional ailments stop you from doing the great things in life that you are called to do. Just be willing to be courageous enough to go for it, and then work on it as you go, because nothing is, solid. We make mistakes. People who don't have ADD make mistakes. So that's just how the world goes. So, that's something I had to overcome, and I deal with it every single day. But every day I learn as I get older that I just have to take better care of myself. I have to have a good diet. I have to exercise. I have to drink a lot of water, because I found that water balance and food balance, it works miracles in your lives, okay? So drink your water, take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically, and don't shy away from those hard parts of your life that may be different over time, because we all have challenges, and it shouldn't stop you from being whatever it is you are striving to do or be.
That's good.
We have a question?
My name is Jayla, go to St. Marcus. What are your goals for bettering the community, for your district or community, like for future?
Big goals for bettering. Yeah, I think what we're going to do, because we're asking us to project it out. So the question I heard are, what are our goals as elected officials? Okay, well that is what we call to service, right? I think hopefully we all have it here in some space inside of us. It may have been any way that you participate in anything to bring about change. So you could have done it on your block, in your school, in your church, but you chose to stand up for something. That's actually what inspires all of us every single day. To run for political office is what I love, why I said this is the greatest honor, is that every day I'm able as an alderwoman to make some kind of change in some way. Some days it's just one person's life. Some days I actually feel like a law that I passed could have helped hundreds of people. I'll give you some examples. My day here in the office of City Hall could be, right now, I'm responding to a lot of phone calls about people's street lights not working. It's not hot and sexy, but it's a basic function of the city of Milwaukee. They're gonna call me. They're gonna yell at me and tell me, look, I pay enough money to have these street lights working. I call the engineers and the public works, and we try to get those bad boys working, but it's tough. And we've got a really limited budget. But I have days where I get to come in here and work with my colleagues here and put forward new legislation that I think changes the city of Milwaukee. So this was something I was very excited about, paid parental leave. Got that at the city of Milwaukee so that, like I mentioned, women who choose to have children in any capacity but as working women can have a paid leave with their children. We had 0 weeks available before we adopted now 6 weeks. So that feeling that something that you did changed the future trajectory of the city of Milwaukee. I gave you one on one level that was kind of basic, nuts and bolts, like all the way to something really exciting like a big, bold piece of legislation. Right in the middle of that, when she was asking, well, what do you try to do to change things? For me, I stay up late at night looking at our communities and our neighborhood, and I can't stop thinking about all the solutions that I have. Here's what we can do to make garbage collected faster. Here's what we can do to end violence. Here's what we can do to get guns off the streets. Here's what we can do to make sure that you all are getting the best education possible. Here's what we can do to raise the minimum wage. I got more ideas than we've got money for.
Correct.
But that kind of obsession of your brain going around your neighborhood and school and everything and think about, oh, we could be doing things a whole lot differently. Even us as alderwomen, or the youth, you're the ones that see the things that we can be doing differently. And we need to do a better job. Some of us are mothers and we have young children as well. But you're the future. We need to do a better job because I know you've got a lot of ideas. Think that it looks like an injustice or it's not right. And we could be doing something differently at every level. So that's what drives me to get up and go every day and go to work. You had the Commissioner of Public Works, the Commissioner of Neighborhood Services, whether it's elected or not, or any job or work. Right now, your job is to do a good job as a student. But I tell my son too. What is that drive of what's that end goal of what you're going to do every single day? And I guess my last piece of advice, because I know we're handing some out, some days it's not going to be that big, huge thing. Some days it's gonna be like, you know what, I just need to get through this next hour, right? Sometimes it's gonna be, I need to get through this next break, that next bell ringing at school. I just need to get home. I just need to get a meal. I just need to get through tomorrow. I gotta pick out the right outfit. Don't always go for the largest item. Sometimes you can just take it hour by hour or day by day, and that's also good enough. That's good enough, okay? Because that's something that I'm really glad that Alderwoman Dodd shared that. It's something that I need to work on. Sometimes I'm so worried about things that are in the future that I forget to live in the present and make sure that today. And so I'm working on that too. And that's the change we can have. That little bit of change for today, getting that street light on, might be the most important thing that happens to my constituents. And I'm going to go home and hang my head high and know that I did something right that day. So thank you for that question.
Can I? You want? Okay, go ahead.
How many of you love this city? Raise your hand.
Okay, we going where we, okay.
How many of you recognize that there are improvements that can be and must be and need to be made for this city to be as great as it could be?
Yes.
You asked about what kind of change or what we want to do for this city. Just like you, I think we all love this city. That's why we chose to serve. We could be doing a million other things. By education, I'm an attorney. I can make a lot more money and have a lot more freedom being a lawyer. But I chose to be here in this position for as long as the people of the 6th District will have me, because I was raised with the belief, and I live by the belief, that it is the responsibility of us all to give back to the community that helps us to be who we are. Just as Gwen Moore said glowing things about me, just as colleagues have said glowing things about me, and Gwen Moore mentioned my mother, and many of you may be aware of my family, who for generations has been of service to this city and in other cities. So I recognize that so many folks, related or not, have poured into me to be the person that I am, to have the opportunities that I have had in my lifetime, that it is my responsibility to do the same for others in whatever way that I can. So when you ask what we want to do, I always want to give voice to the voiceless. I want to fight fearlessly and advocate for folks to be empowered, because it's not always about who you elected or whoever's sitting up here to do their job for you. It's also about you being equipped to be able to fight for yourself as well. And as good leaders, we equip folks with that as well.
That's it.
So it's not always about standing in front of you to lead you. Sometimes it's about standing beside you or standing behind you to push you. So what I would like to do with my tenure in office and with my life is to help make this city, this nation, this world better, and to leave things more beneficial than I inherited them. Whether that is, I've done over 800 pieces of legislation, some extremely small and some huge. You heard us talk today about Val Phillips, right? Are y'all familiar with Val Phillips Avenue, the whole street? The largest street in the state of Wisconsin named after an African American? I led the charge for that. Some of you may be aware of MLK Street, right? Y'all know MLK? It used to stop on, McKinley? Because of a historic argument for folks not wanting it to go downtown. I, with the help of all of my colleagues, just this year we celebrated changing those signs and having MLK go all the way to Wisconsin Avenue. And with the help of some people that are here today, we fought to help make our MLK what I believe is the best in the nation. There are over 900 MLK drives across this nation, but they are usually in African American areas that are blighted and impoverished.
Yep.
So for as much work as that still may need to be done, we are light years ahead of where others have been. That came through empowering developers, particularly developers of color, to build on King Drive. Right now, we have a $100 million development happening on King Drive in Garfield, led and owned by African-American company. I don't know anywhere else in this nation where they can say that, but I helped to make that happen. So whether it is policy, whether it is encouragement, whether it is educating, The whole point is to help improve the quality of life of others. So every day that I'm in City Hall, or that we're on virtual meetings, or that I'm thinking of solutions, or that I'm writing policy, or speaking to a group, or going to a neighborhood meeting, or just sharing thoughts and ideas with somebody, with a resident, helping make their idea come true, helping make the thing or solution that they want to do see the light of day. The whole goal is to improve the quality of life for all of us so that we can have that Milwaukee that we all know is possible, because we know what happens when we don't do that. We know the crime rate. We know the reckless driving. We know all the bad things that people talk about. But the way you wipe away the bad is by uplifting all the good and working with like-minded people to help make that happen. So that's what I do, and I encourage others to do the same.
Okay. I saw the young lady at the back. I saw her hand first.
A little
Can you
bit
speak
louder.
louder?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Have we ever been told that we can't do it? So the question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, so the question is, have you ever been told that you can't do something and then you use that for motivation to do it, or it deflated you? That was the question? Okay.
My entire life. And that's the honest to God's truth. I mean, I think all of us women up here can attest to that someone has tried to stop us from being our greater self or achieving the goals that we have set out to do. I was told by a family member that I would never be anything just like my mother, and I was in elementary school. And the fact that I achieved more than this person to this day has blown my mind, because that motivated me and fueled me in the fact that, again, I was probably dealing with ADHD as a kid and didn't know it, okay? Because I wasn't diagnosed. They didn't diagnose kids back then when I was growing up. As an adult, I have ADD, and some adults, get it over time. But there are signs that I know as a child I had ADHD, but nobody could tell. And but my actions and my, it showed that my academics, all of that showed that something was not adding up, and it was ailing me, and I could not figure it out, and no one in my family could. And so I use that to motivate me to not just finish high school, but to go on and get a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in education, a certification in nonprofit management. I interned in Washington, D.C. when these are things I thought I could never do, and I held 3 political seats. All because one person in my family told me in elementary school that I would never be nothing just like my mother. And it just stopped hurting me. And I'm 47, okay? So this stuff is real. We're told every single day what we cannot do. But you gotta walk in your purpose. And you gotta deliver for yourself.
Sure.
That's a great question. I wanted to tell you my horror story. I was at a training one time, because I was in the early 2000s. There was a lot of trainings to train folks to know how to run and win elected office, and I wanted to run for office, and I went to a training. It was a progressive, led by supposedly progressive folks, and the trainer told me, I went up to him on a break, and I told him, I'm also an proud member of our LGBTQ+ community, and I told him that I wanted to run out and open as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, and he told me I wouldn't be a viable candidate. I wouldn't be able to run out and win. And he was wrong, because I am in office now, and I get to be a proud member of our LGBTQ+ community, a leader for us. And I always remember that story and how unfortunate that was, that he said that to me, but how wonderful that I did not heed his advice. And so just like Nakia said, you gotta give yourself that positive self-talk. If you're not getting it from other folks, no reason why you shouldn't look into the mirror every morning and tell yourself how awesome you are and you can do whatever you want to do. Thank you for that question.
Yes, thank you.
Young lady right here in the middle.
So the question was, she goes to a predominantly white institution, and so she's saying, how can she see herself in these types of positions without being able to see those examples? Second.
Though it may be challenging, not having the examples right in the school, but I think that it is worthwhile to seek out examples. Part of this whole Girls' Day exercise is for exposure, right? It's for you all to network. You know, we'll probably have time for like one more question up here before we gotta go to lunch, but we're here. And in each of your programs, our email addresses, all of us are on social media, all of that. We are here to be a resource to you, just like the other women in the other panel, even beyond today. And you will be amazed in life about how much of opportunity you get is based on the network that you have. And that network is had through shared experiences, conversations, that whole kind of thing. You don't have to be of the same culture or gender to be able to have that kind of a network. So I say that to you to say, sometimes you use opportunities outside of school to see yourself in the possibilities. That's one. And two, sometimes just as Alderwoman Dmitrievich was speaking about, each one of us can claim ourselves to be history makers in different ways because we've shattered glass, kicked in doors in different ways. You can do the same. If you don't see an administrator at your high school that looks like you, but you seek to be an administrator, you may be the first African American to do it. Who knows? You may be the youngest. You may be the first female. Whatever. You have to be bold enough, courageous enough, and fearless enough to, even if you don't see examples that look like you, be willing to be the first. So that a couple of years from now, another young lady sitting there from your school won't be able to say what you just did because they will see themselves in that leadership. And again, it is so many of us here to help you to do that. Use us.
Okay, and then our last question, the lady right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and because I'm gonna take this because it's specific to me, you can do one more question. It depends what part of MLK Drive you want to talk about. So MLK Drive now is from Wisconsin Avenue all the way to Capitol Drive. So there are tons of projects occurring. The specific one I was mentioning is part of what's called the Thrive On Initiative. So there is the Medical College of Wisconsin as well as the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. They are coming together to have a presence in the community because they want to look at social determinants of health. Because everything isn't about a clinic and going to the doctor and getting some pills. Some stuff is about social determinants that impact people's health. And so they wanted to be in the community. So they looked at several sites throughout the city and they chose to come to the Bronzeville district on MLK in the 6th district. But what they're doing is the old Coakley building, Gimbel Schuster's, your parents or grandparents may refer to it as. But what they've done is partner with an African-American development firm called Royal Capital, led by an African-American young gentleman named Kevin Newell. Now, Royal Capital has purchased the building, and Royal Capital is in ownership of the real estate and the entire development project. That is a $100 million development project being managed, done, and owned by an African-American on King Drive. And there are several others. The DNR building just recently sold. The state was previously in ownership. They are going through the selling of it to a group called BCA, the Bronzeville something artists association. And it's a mixture of artists from the community and different philanthropic folks. It's a board that will own the DNR building on King Drive and North Avenue. And again, we could go through, we could go all the way down for a variety of ownership. African American Chamber of Commerce just recently opened, and Governor Evers gave his speech about giving millions of dollars to communities of color businesses there yesterday on King Drive, the 1900 block of King Drive. They built out a co-working space as well as Confectionately Yours, which also has a bakery in the Sherman Phoenix, will have a cafe in there open to the public as well, in the building that is owned by the owners of JCP, an African-American construction firm that is also on King Drive. Right down the street on Reservoir in King Drive. But James Phelps, the president of JCP, is the owner of the building that the African American Chambers of Commerce just recently opened. Pepper Pot. How many of you have heard of Pepper Pot? Jamaican on 42nd and Capitol. Well, they're opening a sit-down restaurant. The grand opening will be on the 21st of April. That sit-down restaurant is on King Drive between North Avenue and Garfield. And the owner, Mr. Dwight, the owner of Pepper Pot, is the owner of the building. He owned it, and Corey Smith, who is part of Brownstone, the owner of Brownstone down here on Water, was the GC, built it out for him. And it'll be open next month as a sit-down Jamaican restaurant on King Drive. And the list goes on and on. But there are several development projects done by philanthropic entities and individual developers up and down King Drive, and we are just getting started.
Okay, and then our last question was the young lady right there with the shirt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Moore. I'm a sophomore at State High School. So my question is, have you ever experienced a time when you stood up for something you believe in without the support of others, or have you ever had to sacrifice what you believe in for others? That's good. Damn. Want that one?
Well, I'll talk about, yes, I was the only one to vote no on redistricting, which is the maps for the city, and it was hard to be the lone wolf. I always encourage you to try to make sure you have allies and partners so that you can have the votes to pass what you want, but sometimes you just gotta, you can't get there and you gotta stand your ground, and I was the lone vote, and I put up a good fight and we got far, and it'll be that much easier for the next big redistricting fight, so we can hopefully have some victories, but sometimes you do gotta go it alone, and it's tough. But it's important. If you're a leader, that's why you're there.
Anyone else?
Well, I just wanted to add, because she did ask, I'll make it quick, about did you have to sacrifice your values or compromise? Very few times have I had to sacrifice my value, but I have had to compromise. Even amongst us 5 ladies to get things done here, we do feel sometimes on our own. We do see things differently. I mean, this panel is about representation matters. So like Congresswoman Moore said, the fact that we're here and we see the world differently as females, that's what we bring to the table. So we sometimes have to take a vote differently or stand out or protest. And there's going to be moments when you do that. It might part of the walkout of school or going to march. That's healthy. That's a great part of democracy. It might be lonely in the beginning. You're not sacrificing your values, but you might have to compromise. And the work that we do here to get things done, saw our meeting at the very beginning. It was a quick meeting because there was actually a lot of agreement. But sometimes those meetings go for hours and hours and hours because we don't agree. But at the end, we find that compromise where maybe nobody had to sacrifice their values, but they might have had to give a little something up. And that's the way that we get things done. And those are actually our proudest moments. And we could walk away from saying, I didn't get everything I wanted, but I got something done. And I think that's true in government, in any work that you do, and in life. And so that's something that I've had to learn along the way in my government service. And I thought that was a really good question.
So I just want to, before we end, I wanted to just piggyback off of that because she said something very critical that I wanted to lift up. You should never sacrifice your values for anything or anyone. So what you need to do is make sure that you can look yourself in the mirror and that you can sleep at night, even as a young person. So stand up for what you believe in, even if people are telling you not to. Even if you are the only one, because oftentimes you will be the only voice, the only person that looks like you, the only woman that looks like you, or the only woman in that space, and you have to be okay with that. So that means you got to pump yourself up before you hit that stage. You got to pump yourself up before you go to school. You got to pump yourself up in the mirror. So daily affirmations, you make sure you have a dope crew around you. If your friends aren't on the same page as you need to rethink your friends, because it is important to have like-minded people around you, because if you have haters around you in your circle, if you have haters that are telling you, you can't go after that, you can't do that, you have to check who you were with, because they will taint how you look at yourself. So never, ever, never compromise your values for anything. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's you getting $1 million, you never compromise your values to reach a particular goal. So that is critical. So whatever your decision that you're looking to make, whether if you're, friends or any type of high school issue, make sure that you are doing it with a sound mind and you ask yourself, will I be okay with this at the end of the day? It is a hard lesson to learn on the other side of that when you say, I shouldn't have done that. And then you got to live with it, right? You got to live with that guilt. You got to live with that shame. So do it on the front end so that on the back end of that, you can sleep well at night. And then for the young lady, I'm just going to throw this out to you. I grew up in a predominantly white school until I got to Bayview, and it was very tough. It was like 5 of us in the entire building. But what I learned young is that I had to create the space. You got to create the space. You got to make the administration listen for a particular space that you need in your institution. And that goes for all of you. So if you don't see a space that is encouraging, uplifting for you, start the club. Be the voice. Maybe it's waiting on you to do that. So create your space and you lead the charge. You get involved in student union and all of that other stuff so that you can make sure that it's influential for what you need and that it's going to be inclusive for what you need. And I'm done.
So, as we close out, because we do have to get to the lunch, and I know many of you have buses or whatever that are leaving, I do want to say this. And shout out, I see my cousin, County Supervisor Priscilla Cox-Jones here. And I see her mom, Elizabeth Cox, former state representative, former county supervisor, joined us too. The question, I often have conversations, and recently I had some with my cousin Priscilla. She's my younger cousin. So my cousin Priscilla about how she was more recently elected, the most recent in our family, about how, leadership can often be lonely.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yes.
You're not always going to have a crowd of people clapping for you. You're not always going to have people on your side. I think that it is critically important that your values guide you.
Yes.
Because that's your only constant, right? If you know what you're fighting for is the right thing to do, it gives you the courage necessary to fight, even in those moments that it feels lonely. The other thing is, you might be a person that likes to be the life of the party that doesn't like being lonely. But I would offer you this, iron sharpens iron. Having a crowd of people around you who might be cheerleaders or might be yes men is not healthy either. Because as human beings and as we grow, I'm not the same leader today that I was 20 years ago. I think I've always been a leader and a great person, but I would like to think as time goes on, as I increase my knowledge and experiences and my network, that I'm a better person than I was 20 years ago, a better leader than I was 20 years ago. That growth doesn't happen if you're not around people that help to sharpen you. That growth doesn't happen if you have people around you who are saying yes and cheering you along the entire time, never challenging you to be better. So yes, it's plenty of times, countless times where I've been the only vote, the only abstention, the only whatever. But for me, I can defend that. I'm okay with that because I am allowing my values, not what was on the nightly news,
Right.
not political pressure,
Right.
not some interest group,
Right.
and not some residents who are mad at me at the moment to guide that decision making. Always my value, and when I first got elected, I looked at my old speech when you come in, and I said, we may not always agree, but please know, in my heart, every vote I'm taking is because I believe in that moment with the information that I have that it is the best decision for the community that I represent. That's one of my values. So sometimes you might find out years later that that decision wasn't the best. But at the moment I made that decision, it was the best. And I was willing to do that even if I stood on an island all by myself, because that's what leaders do. And I hope, and this is just my last word, I hope that you all kind of find that place yourself. Find that island of your own. Find that courage of your own, that you are able to make the decisions you need to make when you need to make them and stand on it. That you're not so hungry to be liked, to be accepted, and for people to say you're okay, that you compromise your values or you don't become the leader that this city, this world, and so many of us are waiting for you to be. Thank you.